This video is brought to you by Sailrite. In this video, we'll show you how to install and make an interior privacy curtain on a boat using the surface mount curtain track from Sailrite. Our application requires us to affix a track to the wall, so that's what we're demonstrating here. But Sailrite also stocks tracks that can be installed to the ceiling using different types of curtain carriers, so check those systems out at our website. Let's begin by installing the mounting clips which will hold the track to the wall. Brian is going to strike a line above the salon window, ensuring that when the curtain is installed it will cover the entire length of the window. We will be installing mounting clips 1 inch away from the ends, so mark that location on both ends along the line you struck down. Brian positions the mounting clip and then he'll drill a pilot hole for the screw which will hold the clip in place. Be sure to not drill too deep into the cabin wall. You do not want a hole to exit out the other side of the cabin. Now use a stainless steel 6 by 3/4 inch flathead screw and secure the mounting clip. Sailrite recommends a mounting clip be installed about every 14 to 16 inches, so Brian is marking those locations along his line. Then he installs a total of 4 mounting clips for this curtain length. He will then strike a line along the bottom edge of the salon window, being sure that the line is parallel with the top curtain track plane, and so the ends are at the same location as the above track. The fabric curtain will extend about 1 inch below the curtain track's plane here and 1 inch above the upper track's plane, so position the track accordingly. Then install mounting clips as done earlier. Now measure the width from the center of the top mounting clip to the center of the bottom clip. Write that track to track measurement down on paper. Now measure 1 inch away from each of the ends mounting clip to get a track length measurement and write that down also. These measurements will be used for calculating the cut size of the curtain's fabric panels. Boat interior curtains usually use a fullness factor of about 1.25% as a general guideline. Since we will be installing 2 panels per window, we need to use the following calculations to determine the cut fabric width for each of our 2 curtain panels. The total inches of width should always be rounded up. The fabric cut height is determined by taking the track-to-track measurement you took and adding 2 inches and also 3 inches, which will be used for hems, for a total of 5 inches. Now with those calculations we can cut the fabric to size, but how much fabric do we need for our curtains? Well, as always, Sailrite tries to make this easy by using the Sailrite Fabric Calculator. Just visit the Sailrite website and pick your favorite fabric. We're going to pick a Sunbrella upholstery fabric in a yellow color. After selecting your fabric, you can see we have a detailed description of the fabric and even a video showing the fabric up close. Now click on the Launch Fabric Calculator button to pull open Sailrite's Fabric Calculator. You will see multiple calculators for various projects. We want to pick the Window Treatments project and click that button. Then we'll pick the window curtains. Now you can enter your measurements into the correct fields for your boat's curtains. If you have questions about the fields, just click on a question mark for a detailed description. As discussed earlier, boat curtains are usually 1.25% for the fullness factor. Now just hit the Calculate button and you will immediately see how much fabric is required for your curtain application. And you will see a cut panel rendering showing how the panels should be nested on the fabric for the best cloth usage. Now just order the fabric from Sailrite. Many Sunbrella fabrics are priced lower in the shopping cart. Yeah, it's that easy using the Sailrite Fabric Calculator. Using the calculations we took earlier for our cut fabric size, we will mark the fabric to the correct size in preparation for cutting. Our curtain panels will be cut to a size that will allow for hems along all sides. This illustration shows the size of the hems that will be applied to each panel. After marking the fabric panels on our fabric, we will be incorporating curtain ties which will be used for each of our curtains. So, we will also measure out and cut rectangles that can be used for the curtain ties. These rectangles will measure about 11 inches by 6 inches. We will make one of these for each of the curtain panels. The length of the tie is totally dependent on the amount of fabric used for each curtain panel. A general guideline for an approximate tie cut length is to multiply the curtain's cut length by 0.37. Since we've chosen to use a Sunbrella upholstery or furniture fabric, it's always a good idea to use a Hotknife to cut the fabric to size. We're using a Hotknife here on top of a piece of glass to prevent damage to the tabletop below. This will prevent the unraveling of the edges of the fabric. Now we have one curtain panel and one curtain tie cut to size. Next comes the sewing of the hems and installing the snap-on tape from Sailrite. We will cut the snap-on tape to the size so that it's equal to the length of our curtain panel. We will need to cut two strips, one for the top edge and one for the lower. Try to ensure that the snap on each end is equal distance from each end. Next, a single hem will be created along each of the long edges of the curtain. Deb is going to strike a line on the wrong side or underside of the fabric, which is about 3 inches from the edge, so she can use that as a guide to create the 1.5 inch single hem. The snap-on tape will eventually be placed along the inside edge of the folded hem, so that the snap is positioned about 1 inch away from the folded edge. A 1/2 inch hem will be installed along each of the short edges, and so we will need to cut away any extra length of the snap-on tape so that it does not need to be folded under this hem. The use of Seamstick or basting tape is a great help in any upholstery or canvas job. We're using the Seamstick for canvas here and applying it to the edges of the fabric which need a hem. This Seamstick will hold the hem in place as we take it to the sewing machine and sew it down. We will also apply the Seamstick to the back side of the snap-on tape. Then baste the snap-on tape in place so its edge is almost flush with the raw edge of the hem on the wrong side of the fabric. Do that to the top edge and also the bottom edge of your curtain panel. It's always a good idea to measure the distance of the snap from center to center to confirm that they are about the same measurement as the track to track measurement. If not, make modifications before sewing. We'll take it now to the sewing machine and sew a straight stitch at least a 6 millimeter long stitch length, and we'll secure the snap-on tape and the hem at the same time by just sewing the bottom edge of the snap-on tape. Then when we sew the opposite side of the snap-on tape, we'll start from the other end because we are using a roping zipper foot. The sewing machine presser foot is missing on the right side, so we can sew close to the snap-on buttons. Once both snap-on tapes are sewn down on the top and bottom edges, we can sew the 1/2 inch hem on the short sides of the panel. You will notice that Deb is not using Seamstick for this hem. She is folding it while she sews it shut. Be sure to reverse your stitches at the beginning and end of your sewing to lock the stitch in place. Here is what the curtain panel looks like when it's done. We have 4 of these to make for our boat. Now simply install the snap-on carriers onto each of the snaps. It's now time to make the curtain's ties. We will fold the 11 inch by 6 inch assembly in half widthwise, then sew around the 2 sides, leaving one of the short ends open. Our stitch is about a 1/2 inch away from the raw edges of the fabric. Notice that when Deb takes a turn, she buries her needle, lifts her presser foot, turns the fabric, then lowers her presser foot and continues to sew. She likes to reverse at each turn, but I prefer not to do the extra reversing at each one of the turns. I only reverse at the beginning and the end of my stitches. Turn the assembly right side out. This will be difficult, but possible since it's so small. Use a stick to poke out the corners if needed. Then fold about a 1/2 inch hem towards the inside of the pocket along the open side, and sew this shut. cut a 2-inch hook and loop Velcro to approximately 1 inch. Or if you have a 1-inch Velcro, cut it to 2 inches. Then sew this to the ends of the tie. One hook Velcro on one side, and on the other side a looped Velcro on the opposite end. We're going to just sew a box stitch here, meaning a stitch all around 4 sides of the Velcro. The surface mount curtain track cuts easily with a hacksaw. Cut it to the length required for your application. Ours is 43 inches. We will install to one end of this track a curtain end stop with loop, since we do not want the curtain to slide open along the 2 ends. This will allow us to easily sew the curtain to the loop of the stop. Simply slide the finished curtains onto the track via the snap-on carriers. You'll need to slide this curtain on and also the second one. When both are in place on the track, you will install another end stop with loop on the opposite end. Follow this same procedure for the second lower portion of the track as well. Take needle and thread and sew the curtain to each of the loops on the stop so it will not pull away from the ends of the track. We'll not be showing all of this. We are now ready to install the curtain onto our boat. All we need to do with this style of track is snap it into the mounting clips we already installed on the boat. As you can see, it works wonderfully and will provide privacy and style to any boat, whether it be a sailboat or a powerboat. Let's also show you how it looks with the curtain ties we made. They simply Velcro in place to hold the curtain open. For the best UV resistant fabric, pick Sunbrella Furniture or upholstery fabric. At Sailrite, you will also find other brands of interior-exterior fabrics with gorgeous patterns that are classified for occasional outdoor fabric use. Those also work great for interior curtain projects like this. Here's the materials list of the items that we use to build these interior boat curtains. For more free videos like this, check out the Sailrite website or subscribe to the Sailrite YouTube channel today. It's your loyal patronage that makes these free videos possible. Thanks for your support.